Alleluia, Alleluia, Alleluia.
Open our hearts, Yahweh, to listen to the words of Christ Jesus.
Alleluia, Alleluia, Alleluia. The Lord be with you.
And also with you.
A reading from the Good News according to Mark.
Glory to you, O Christ.
Jesus came into his hometown, followed by the disciples. When the Sabbath came, he began to teach in the synagogue, and the many listeners were astonished and said, "Where did he learn all this? What is this wisdom that has been granted him, and these miracles that are performed by his hands? Is this not the carpenter, the son of Mary, the brother of James and Joseph and Judah and Simon? Are his sisters not here with us?" They found these things to be stumbling blocks. Jesus said to them, "Prophets are not without honor except in their hometown and among their own relatives and in their own household." And he could work no miracles there, apart from laying his hands upon a few sick people and healing them. Their lack of faith astounded him. He made the rounds of the neighboring villages instead and spent the time teaching. The good news of Christ Jesus.
Praise to you, O Christ.
It was July 4th, 1988 in Berkeley, California. I was living in the greatest house in the Berkeley Hills. Its estimated value on today's market is $2.5 million. This gray Spanish stucco masterpiece was our seminary building, complete with a spectacular view of the Golden Gate, with views of the Bay Bridge, the Golden Gate Bridge, and the city of San Francisco. That summer, Mike Baxter, a Holy Cross priest at the time, lived with us. Baxter was about to begin his doctoral degree at Duke in Christian ethics. He had founded Andre House in Phoenix, and that is where I had met him. Andre House still exists. It began as a Catholic worker type community, housing a few homeless men on the streets of Phoenix. It has grown to a few houses that provide shelter, meals, and employment services for homeless Phoenicians, men, women, and families. Andre House has expanded to San Francisco and South Bend, Indiana. The downtown chapel in Portland is modeled after Andre House. My experience for a month at Andre House in 1987 had a significant impact on my life, as I was forced to not only acknowledge, but experience an aspect of American life that we often want to pretend doesn't exist or is merely a consequence of bad individual choices on the part of a small segment of the population. But when walking by tent cities and long lines for food stamp applications, conventional wisdom is altered. Some might say that Baxter was tainted in his view of America. Unabashedly, he was not a fan of capitalism. He often commented that he would love to experience wealth, but not at the expense of others' suffering, because that suffering attacked the core of human dignity. So, On this July 4th, 1988, in a land of Reagan Bush trickle down economics and a really cool house in Berkeley, we celebrated by having a cookout, drinking wine from the Napa, and watching that feel-good movie, The Grapes of Wrath. Ah, what prophets we were. And I even think we were aware of our own hypocrisy as we criticized the excesses of our culture while we were participating in it just the same. All while the hungry, lonely, and homeless were close to, but barred from our curved Spanish Art Deco door. Isn't that the way of prophecy? Ezekiel is told to give warning to a stubborn, defiant, and rebellious nation, whether or not they listen. Jesus is minimized in his own town. Are we no different? Who are the prophets of our time that we reject? Those with knowledge on climate change and pandemics? Who are those who don't reject the message, but have a bit of a struggle when it comes to the practice? And I speak of myself on this one. We have to quit our dependence on fossil fuel. But dang, that Jeep Gladiator gives me reason to opt for an exception. Or how many of us, we have to stop all the plastic that is polluting our oceans, but I just don't drink water from the tap. March Jesus definitely emphasizes humanity's need to co-create and cooperate with God in order to experience miracles in our midst. Because if we don't, nothing happens. So on this 4th of July day, when we celebrate our nation's history that purports the ideals of liberty, justice, equality, and inalienable rights, who are the modern day prophets that warn us that we are not practicing what we preach? And on a positive side, who are those that let us know that along the road, we've made some progress as well?